to be able to set themselves up for success.
Yep.
They have been a team that has been pretty intelligent as far as the drafting goes. In North America, we have seen at times them baiting opponents into picking engaged comps, going with things like the Swain. That has been successful for them in the past. I think they're going to need that. They're also going to need a very good performance out of Solo, who I think has been performing much below his level at Worlds. I did not expect him to get abused in the way that he has been. He has been making some unforced errors, making some mistakes. I think that he is a strong, solid player. He is normally pretty good on the weak side, and I think that he's going to have to hold up better than he has been in the first 2 games, because Power of Evil put on a heroic performance yesterday to help them over UOL, but you can't expect, I think, the same level of dominance from Power of Evil over someone like Chovy, who is truly one of the greatest mid laners in the world.
Yeah, he's absolutely outstanding. We've got a couple of record setters here at Worlds 2020 so far. Pioshik owns the second highest gold difference at 15. With the fact in the jungle is pretty impressive. He's highest of all junglers, but he's second overall of all players. I think Wonder is the leader here in that one, but obviously he's been quite strong in the jungle. PoE is number 2 in all players for damage share. Of course, that is no surprise when you watch that FlyQuest Unicorns of Love game. Very clearly, he was the one doing all of the hard work into that game. And we got Solo, who holds the record for most deaths in a game and most deaths in a win at Worlds 2020. So
got the W.
Yeah.
Still counts.
Does still count.
Let's go.
As you mentioned, do want to see him step up. Now, a lot of teams were banning the Caitlyn away from Deft, and him and Carrier playing aggressively down to the bottom side is going to be exciting. Now, Wild Turtle and Ignar, not as much known for the laning phase. They're solid, they're okay, but the strength of Ignar on this composition is the fact that he will try to roam out of the lane. That's hard to do when you're under your turret against like a Caitlyn Karma or something.
And I think that Turtle and Ignar have been quietly having quite a good performance, right? They weren't dominant, but the MF was critical in yesterday's win. Turtle, I think, they were actually trading quite well against Top in the early stages, almost got a 2v2 kill there. Of course, did not, and then got ran over by Top, but, they have been solid. They're going to have a really good performance here. I do like the answer of the Kindred into the Graves. I think that, this is one of those jungle matchups where whoever face checks the other one is going to lose, but Kindred can actually outscale and outrange the Graves, especially post 4 marks. You start to really get the advantage as you just have longer range than the Graves, and Graves can really struggle, I think, to fight in team fights against some of these longer range marksmen. Caitlyn, in addition to that Kindred, is going to make it tough for him to close the gap. When you start getting more items in, you take 1 or 2 autos before you close the range, and you're all of a sudden not able to fight anymore as Graves. Add Caitlyn with the Lux in there for the duo lane. That is an extremely dominant 2v2. And as you said, Ignar likes to go more for the engaged supports, play for the 5v5. I think that you could get very heavily punished if you try to go to something like a Rakan against this lane, because if you lose the push against Caitlyn and Lux, they will set traps up on one side of your tower, they will drop the Lucent Singularity, that Lux E on the other side, and it becomes nearly impossible to farm. If you try to step in between one of those traps, all of a sudden, easy binding, easy Piltover Peacemaker, becomes so tough. So I would like them to prioritize their 2v2 a little bit, but the Orin, I think, spells good things. That has been doing so well at Worlds, and picking it here allows them to actually ban out a couple potential difficult matchups for them if they want to try to protect Solo, but it's going to be some good scaling for them and a lane where Solo might take a little bit of a beating, but he's always going to be useful.
So, fun note about Pioshik here on the Kindred. That is the origin of his actual screen name. In Korean, a mark, as it would be for Kindred, is Pioshik. I'm sure I mispronounced it, but that's where it comes from. It's his only second Kindred pick of Summer Split onwards, but it's cool that he gets his namesake here in this game. In the de facto battle for second place in this group, yes, they will rematch in week 2, where we all know how the LCS fares there, but regardless, that'll be the battle here, and this is going to be a fun one. So as you mentioned, though, yes, Orin comes through. I see this draft, and I say, hey, there's no engage on this DRX side right now. Camille dropped away. Silas dropped away because he could steal Orin ulti. I think it's actually a very clever ban with that said, but are there other engaged champions that these guys could play? Of course they could, right? You can have some other diver and a Galio coming through, for example.
Yeah, I mean, you could go Jax Galio, right? We're starting to see more Jax. You can do things like that. You can also even go like Shen and even play something along the lines of perhaps a set mid. We have seen that quite a bit actually come out, from Chovy. He is very proficient on that champion. We can see things like even Shen LeBlanc. There are a lot of options here. I'll be interested to see where they do go. It looks like it is going to be Ignar playing the roaming support, going for this Pantheon. I do worry for their 2v2. I think this is somewhat difficult, if you lose the push, and I think Pantheon is going to have trouble actually, maintaining that.
I think you probably lose the push almost no matter what, unless you're willing to play Karma or something in the matchup. But all of the CC is so telegraphed that you can step on a trap on purpose and put up the shield, and the duration's going to be about as long as you're rooted for, and he can basically withstand the entire combo and play hyper aggressively. I also agree. I love Maokai. I think there's a wealth of top lane tanks that just people don't play, but they're outstanding. Maokai definitely in the list right there. I think he's absurdly strong. Should have no problem farming against the Ornn. And now I want to see how good Doran's TP flanks are.
And this is one of those things, these are some of the champions that I've been talking a lot about, on Twitter. The Maokai, the Sion, even Poppy, I think, has a lot of room to come into the meta. Champions that are being kind of overlooked. People are looking at Ornn and Shen, and sometimes Malphite, and kind of just forgetting about the rest of the tanks. Yes, Ornn does have an advantageous matchup into Maokai, especially in the early game. You are going to have very good trading into the Maokai, utilizing the Bellows Breath, being able to get those brittle procs on Maokai. But that being said, if you get past those very early stages, all of a sudden Maokai doesn't care about the damage anymore. You have a sap magic to be able to heal through that and trade. You can farm it out. You have point and click CC that is going to help to set up for the engage very, very effectively. You can utilize the ultimate both as an engage tool, but also honestly as a zoning tool. You drop the ultimate as you're moving forward to siege on a tower, and it makes it really tough for a team to then stay on that tower to try to defend. Caitlyn Lux move forward, chip it down. So a lot of ways to play that out. On the other side, Power Vivo playing one of his signature picks. He's on the Orianna. Very well known for all of his kind of atypical builds that he would go on it, but he's on the comfort, scaling mage. You have Ornn for the top side, allow Solo to kind of sit back. And I think a lot of this game is going to depend on both how Power Vivo hold up in the middle lane, but also most importantly, the bottom lane I really do think is going to be where we see a lot of contention.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I want to put all my eyes down on the DRX bot lane, see how well Deft and Keria can do. This is maybe the single strongest duo you can pick in League of Legends right now. I think it's very hard to find a 2-on-2 that will beat this heads up. Yeah, you might win in other places. Obviously, the utility is far higher when you have Pantheon semi-global engages and Ashes across the map. Yes, indeed. But the 2-on-2 lane should always go the way of Caitlyn Lux unless you get heavily outplayed or there's a big jungle difference. Santorin, I think, is the best jungler the LCS is sending to Worlds. He is absolutely outstanding, and if he can have one of those strong games that he had domestically, then that is a possibility. And so we'll see what comes through in this one as we are onto Summoner's Rift as we open up Game 3 of the day. DRX and FlyQuest are fighting for second place in the group right now.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
So, as always with Kindred, you're going to have to track the marks. It honestly can make a pretty big difference if you get lucky and have the mark spawn on the scuttle that you kind of have control of or not. One thing that you will see some experienced Kindred players do is if the mark spawns on the other side of the map, they actually just try to delay taking the scuttle and try to force that to actually spawn on their scuttle then later on and delay that. But you have to make sure that then you are controlling that quadrant of the map and that you can't get double scuttled by the graves. So there is some risk associated with it. And it also is slowing down the gold and experience that you would expect to be kind of injected in there.
All right, now, no chaotic invades. We have seen so many of these games opened up with a lot happening in the first minute and a half of the game. This one is going to be one of the most docile. There is at most a deep ward coming down from Solo's Ornn saying, all right, I'm going to see if I can figure out where Kindred's starting. All right, blue buff has not been touched at 131. I think we're good. They both eventually trinket at the exact same time. That will almost assuredly track any invade shenanigans, whether Santorin does that or Pyosik, but it's going to be a pretty heavy clear. You can see Pyosik kiting down to the bottom side means he wants to do red into Krugs. Santorin wants to do red-blue into bot side and control that side of the map.
It'll be interesting to see where he goes. He actually looks like he's going towards a blue invade. So he's actually trying to go red-blue here. But Santorin is heading right there as well. And then it really comes down to like who's going to get the first hit. Santorin has phase rush, so he could actually go in here and try to look for the chase.
Now he's outside the W range. So Pyosik only has autos now, still cutting around. The question is who can move around. Lux and Pantheon both heading over. If Caitlyn with Deft does have the push, Smite available for both, and they're not willing to give this one away. Sweeper will kill the ward, so it allows Santorin to maybe kite this into the brush. Ignar still sticking around. Chovy gets first move as well, and he's got to have Sleepy Trouble Bubble. This is so dangerous. The mid Mia has to be called. Binding dodged away from. Well played on the invade. Keria shows up. Def shows up. Chovy shows up. 4v2 is just not fair.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to take away the Gromp. They're even leashing the Gromp here for Pyosik, so a lot of emphasis to putting this Kindred ahead, because as I said, the Kindred does outscale the Graves. When you get that range, it becomes very advantageous. So if you can actually get ahead of the Graves early, it becomes incredibly difficult for the Graves to really have much effect on this game. I like the patience there from DRX. You know, they had that roam from the bot lane, but that was matched by Ignar. This is honestly really smart pathing, though, from Santorin. He recognizes that this is lost, so he goes his own wolves. He doesn't try to contest at the blue or at the Gromp, and he's straight over onto the enemy blue. So he will, at the very least, get this, and the Scuttle on the top side has the mark. So he should be able to take the blue, deny that Scuttle away, and be in a pretty reasonable spot here, given the fact that there was that many resources to try to put him behind. And you talked about how good Santorin is. One of the things that he gets a lot of credit for is his intelligence. You know, his pathing is very smart. He's adaptable. He has good game plans, but they're malleable. He's not just going to hard commit to, I must do this path every game. He adjusts based on what is happening in the game. This is a good example of that. I think pretty smart stuff from him to really not end up very far behind.
Yeah, ultimately, Pyosik, of course, did steal away 2 camps to the 1 stolen of Santorin. So assuming bottom Scuttle goes to DRX, there's still, you know, extra camps up for Pyosik long term. As well as it going down, Krug will be next up, but we'll still see what comes through, as the junglers are fairly close in overall camp count as they're dropping down. Pyosik heading down to the bottom side. I think he's going to wait until he knows top Scuttle has been killed. Doesn't even bother to check it. He's like, Santorin would have taken this, so I'll wait till it marks bottom side, then take Scuttle. The timing's probably pretty soon. You can see Chovy heading down that way as well. Kindred going to be pretty easily taking the first mark as long as Pyosik waits long enough.
Yep, and we'll see if he does want to wait for that. It does seem like he is waiting. Yep, so just getting it low and then actually delaying finishing it. It does always make a pretty big difference getting that first mark, because getting a 4 is so key. I mean, every mark is helpful because you're just getting additional damage on your spells every time, but the first 4 is the biggest one. That's where you get that really big range increase. Every 3 thereafter is nice, and they're going in.
They find the stun, they find some damage on a Keria there. The charge comes forward, and he's already burned the flash. There is no way out! Jungle ganks are how you make this matchup work, and first blood comes through. Now, how long to the next stun? That's a big trap. That's decent damage to Santorin. But FlyQuest needed a lifeline out of the bot lane, and they found it here.
Yeah, very well done. That is one way you can punish this type of lane, because the way they get the advantages is with the push. If you don't have your opponent under the tower as Caitlyn Lux, it's a lot harder to get a lot of damage down. That being said, I actually like that DRX had the recognition that, all right, Keria is dead, now let's minimize loss. No heal used, no exhaust used. They try to hold on as much as they can on the other side. We saw Flash from Santorin, Ignite from Ignar, Cleanse is out from Turtle. So they did get those extra resources. Of course, it's still a great play from FlyQuest, but this is pretty smart stuff and pretty patient stuff from DRX to not overcommit to what was already a losing play.
And speaking of smart stuff, Turtle going for a boots rush here instead
I like
of
this from Ignar.
More, Pyosik. Look for the invade. This is a 3-on-3. Keria is behind the wall. They don't know yet that he's here now. Look at that. That's so good. Spots out that Ignar might be in the brush. Says, you know, my spidey sense is tingling. And for a 17-year-old in his first year competitive play, that's an important one. Beautiful step out of him. And FlyQuest don't get to punish the invade, but the junglers are equal on camps. Obviously, Santorin's gotten that 1 gank off. Pyosik's gotten the 1 mark, which is obviously very, very useful. Top lane, by the way, Solo having just a fine time there, right? You got the blind pick Ornn, answered with a Maokai because DRX needs engage somewhere. And so far, tank v tank, no problem for Fly's top lane.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, I think that he is in a good matchup, and he's going to be comfortable there. And honestly, going forward, you should never get like solo killed or really have an enormous CS difference in these types of matchups unless there is tremendous jungle interference. It should just be a farm it out style, and I think that Solo will be very happy with that. Maokai, though, does scale effectively. But there is quite a bit of damage, and we'll see if they do pick up any sort of healing debuff, because a lot of the tankiness from Maokai, you have to remember, actually comes from his passive, the Sap Magic. where you are getting back health, based on the spells you have used and the spells you have been hit by. It recharges that passive, and especially if you get into a Spirit Visage, you can get some ridiculous healing from that. So we will see where and when they pick up any sort of things like an Executioner's or something to help mitigate that.
Pyosik number 2 as second Scuttle gets the mark, and that's going to be claimed. So halfway there to the first big range upgrade. Easy kill on this control ward here as well. And temporarily a 3-camp lead for the DRX jungler. A little poke back and forth, but now up Berserker's Greaves. Turtle feels pretty safe. BF Sword, though, for Deft is a, yeah, we automatically win the 2-on-2. Like, you've got attack speed and you can dodge the skill shots, but Deft's Qs are great. They're going to get really good wave clear. He's level 6. I love this. Instantly cast the ultimate. Just get the poke damage down. Ignar was too far to block. Obviously, if you could, you just, like, walk up, press E on Pantheon. It wouldn't be a problem, but easy poke there, and the lifesteal is only mediocre from this Ashe.
Looking like they're trying to set up a potential dragon play here. Deep Vision from Power of Evil. Would like to see him just grab that Blast Cone too to deny any chance of a steal, but it looks like it should be FlyQuest. They had the push, well done there. But you are seeing advantages being created in the lanes by the DRX members. Chovy's such a good mid laner here, up about 20 CS with some to collect there for Power of Evil. This is going to be close. He might get the solo kill.
1v1 top side. Solo did not get the rest of the W. Doran's flash was crucial. If that flash was a quarter second later, a flash photo would have guaranteed the kill. So gets away, but that is still a 5-minute cooldown down for Doran. Solo having a small lead up at the top side.
Great job by him getting that flash out, the trade of ultimates. As you say, if that brittle application was there, flash auto means Doran is dead every time. Great stuff from Solo, getting an advantage up there on his own. And yeah, the CS advantages are keeping this game in DRX's favor, despite the fact that FlyQuest got that kill. Jungle CS advantage, Caitlyn is winning in farm, Zoe is winning in farm, and that is where you're seeing some of the player skill really shine through. Chovy, Deft, and Keria, these guys are monster laners, and it is very, very tough to keep up, but as long as FlyQuest can stabilize those CS deficits and farm alongside their opponents from here on, it's not going to be the end of the world.
Pyosik still waiting for his first PvP kill as he still has that mark on Santorin waiting for it, looking to go for the topside chicken camp now as well. Smite fight might be a thing. Nice redemption is going to make it a little bit easier for him as they once again try to get the rest of this chunk down. Smite comes through, well done. Number 3 to Pyosik as he grabs that one away. Good invade, good support by Chovy. Even Doran walked down.
This is honestly huge, and Pyosik, it's good play. Also a little bit of luck to have that scuttle spawn, that second scuttle, with that mark on his side. He was right in that area. Did have priority, so good job by him. Chovy working really well, utilizing that redemption that he grabbed to secure the third mark. And having 3 marks pre-10 minutes without a kill is honestly very rare in competitive play, so I think Pyosik is going to be feeling incredibly good about his position in this game. If you can get to 4 marks generally before the major team fights start, you are feeling so comfortable as the Kindred, because it makes you so much safer. You can get damage out consistently without necessarily exposing yourself to the CC that could prevent you from actually getting your ultimate off.
Look at that. Beautiful. He knows it's 1 minute away, takes out the timer. Thanks for the root, and that's 4. That's 4 ridiculous already. Beautiful.
And a lot of this also, to his credit, you can game it where the marks will spawn in certain places, right? Based on how many marks you have. So if you eliminate the camps that it could spawn on and only leave 1 up, the mark will have to spawn there. Yep. And that may be exactly what Pyosik is doing, and if that's the case, that's incredibly impressive play from him. To grab 4 this early really is impressive stuff, and it's going to mean he's going to be a menace come teamfight time.
And got the bonus range, a bunch of attack speed when you press Q. It's all looking good. And now, as the control ward is put down, the ward's timed out, Pyosik wants to go for a nice, convenient little play. Jumps over top side. That's not where you wanted to be. Now, can the rest of it work well? When can he get over the wall? Blast plants away, flashes out. And the snipe's not going to be enough, nor will the rest of the damage out of Graves. I don't know how he lived with that one, but FlyQuest kited away and Pyosik has jumped over to safety.
Yeah, right beside that wall, he does have the Q and the flash, and they needed to deny that blast cone, but I think both FlyQuest members shouldn't have gone the same way on the blast cone, right? You should have tried to stay spread out, so one knocks that blast cone out, another is there to follow. They're trying to secure this. Looks like they will be able to do so. Santorin going to grab this, but now the quick draw is on cooldown, so we'll see if DRX want to move in and try to force the flash.
You can bait for Ignar. They're depending on who shows up, yeah. If Keria wasn't there, you had the chance at saying, let's go for the 2v1. Like, we know the ult's down, we know the flash is down, just jump over the wall, let's get him. You know, flash W, let's see what you got. I guess no flash, but maybe ult W. Regardless, yes, flash to safety is the trade. I think that's worth. Now we got another trade up the top side. Looking for the stun. We've got everyone else coming around. Now the first ult is not going to land, but his ult's going to buy a lot of space. The flash follow. They need this kill in a Doran. They trade blows back and forth. And Solo with some help from his teammates finds himself on the board. 1-0-0, 7 CS lead. PvE objectives in the favor, but DRX, you can see, still 800 gold ahead from being better laners. 3, now 4 turret plates in the bottom side.
Yeah, and they're actually trying to take not only this turret, but they're invading for that mark on the Wolves, probably. We did see a ward get placed down on that. There is the replay. We see Pyosik escaping. The turret taken here. You know, you have the winning 2v2, and Ignar is roaming. Turtle left in the 1v2 with Pyosik wrapping behind him. There's no way he can actually stay, so that is the correct play from him to give that up. But it does mean that, honestly, DRX get way more out of that kill, unfortunately for FlyQuest, than FlyQuest do. Because great, you killed off the Maokai, but that gold went in the pockets of Ornn, and you lost the tower, giving Caitlyn an immense lead, right? You know, this is now a huge CS deficit on that bottom side, plus all the plates and turret gold going to Deft and really setting him up for success.
You've got about 40 seconds to summon Herald somewhere useful because you really want to cash in on the plates itself. None of the turrets are low enough to die during Herald's lifetime, so get some plates, get 300 gold back, you know, bring back 10% of that gold deficit right now, and they got to do it soon.
Yeah, I think they're going to do that immediately. They're just pushing it up. He's running straight down there. They're just trying to get the gold here, and if the plates expire, maybe you can finish that off afterwards, as there will be that less bit of armor. Plus, they're trying to use this also as pressure to help them take the dragon potentially. But it does look like Graves is just going to head back towards his jungle, continue farming. Not feeling comfortable to do that just yet, with Ignar heading back to base, and Power of Evil is still walking back out on the map, so they want to get their lanes pushing in the right direction.
Nice little check to make sure Kindred isn't soloing the Drake. That's not happening. A blue buff handoff, QW, ended off there. But still, 1,600 gold lead to DRX. Bot lane picked for the laning phase. They got the leads there. There were some nice ganks. Santorans, you know, combined for 2 on the various sides of the map. But Deft and Keria are the reason this game is going the way it is. PoE has caught up. It's been 3 CS the mid lane. That's a positive moment. But for now, bot diff, and the draft was for that. The draft was the reason for this. There's playing it well, of course, as well. But they said, look, we're doing a draft kingdom, or a bot lane kingdom in the draft phase. Let's see if they can play it through. So now we get into the mid game. We go to the second Drake. We're 50 minutes in. Is the lead on Deft and Keria enough to win these team fights? Big sleep, big combo. Ignar gets the shield up in time and takes nothing. Now he's got to kite backwards. I think that might have been a fat finger out of Pyosik. There's no way that was someone in danger.
There was no reason to use the ultimate there from Pyosik. And now with that on cooldown, maybe FlyQuest want to actually fight this. We'll see if they do try to posture for it. Yes, Ignar had to go back to base, but he has his ultimate. So that fat finger there from Pyosik may actually cost them potentially a team fight. Doesn't look like FlyQuest is in a position to punish just yet, but we do see Power of Evil moving down here, and he has his ultimate available. Could come down to steal.
They find the stun. This could be an easy steal, easy shockwave, easy burst damage.
Thanks for the leash.
This should be an easy pickup, and that is a dragon taken away. Doran ulted for wave clear and walked down, then recalled. That was greedy by DRX. They were never going to have Doran there. They'd already burned the ult out of Pyosik. His flash was on cooldown. And the re-engage came just in time for FlyQuest.
And Pyosik has been a player to receive criticism. You know, he is kind of pointed to by many as the weak link of this team, a guy who has been criticized for sometimes decision-making, sometimes mechanical errors. This just seemed like a straight-up accidental button press, and it does cost you a lot there. As he gives over the kill, they lose the dragon. FlyQuest, I think, are going to be very happy, all things considered, about their position in this game. Yes, you're down a little bit of gold, but you have level 11 on both your solo laners. You know, Solo is doing very well. Power of Evil has closed the CS gap to a point where it really doesn't matter anymore. You know, he already is stacking up that tier. He's building towards a death cap. You know, if you get towards that 2-item Orianna, have the early death cap, get those Ornn upgrades coming in here in a couple levels, FlyQuest are kind of going to be in their comfort zone. So a lot of the pressure is now on Deft, who was drafted for having this successful game, has a big gold lead over the Ashe, and we'll see what he can get done with it.
Right now looking to get a deep ward and fight for the next Herald coming up fairly soon. You can see that there's marks over towards the rev up. That one taken away though in time. Centaur not going to give that one over. I believe we are still at 4 marks for
waiting for Ignar.
And they're waiting for Ignar. And Ignar spots the ward, puts on the shield as the root comes through, and you're not going to take much of a combo there in that case. Snipe comes through. That's a nice ult there into Turtle. Puts him at about 60%. They fight back for the ward. Centauran goes over the river. Otherwise, it is still top lane under siege, but Turtle, with Ruin King done, pretty easily able to take some poke and just heal it all back up and really not have to take any danger here.
Yep, he's sitting pretty comfortably. DRX, nice attempt at a pick there, but as you say, that interaction with the Pantheon shield, just being able to pop that when he does get rooted up, when he does get trapped, is being very, very effective. Power of Evil is closing this CS gap more and more. Was down a couple waves fairly early from Chovy, thanks to Chovy's really good laning, but Power of Evil has been really in his comfort zone over these last 10 minutes or so, just kind of farming it up, well over 10 CS per minute here on the Orianna. This guy had a monster game yesterday and is in a decent position to try to have a repeat of that today. You can look for combos such as the Pantheon ultimate, you stun somebody up, you follow that up with the Shockwave, you have good engage, obviously from the Ornn. Kindred will be problematic, Caitlyn will be problematic, but FlyQuest are in there with a fighting chance.
And I don't think this game is going the way anyone expected. If you watched the first 3 days of the World Championship and how narrowly FlyQuest took down Unicorns of Love, you're like, all right, pack it in. All the LCS teams are garbage. They're trash. See you next year. But up against LCK number 2, I mean, this very rarely happens that LCS even competes with the top Korean teams. And so far, so good. FlyQuest, yes, they are down in gold, but I would take the team up 2 Drakes in a 6,600 gold deficit. Maybe 1,000 gold deficit's a bit closer, but so far so good as FlyQuest look to find their way into the mid game. Ignar taking half his health off down. Good play by Chovy. We haven't got to see him play around the mid game, but we know he can do a lot here in this.
And you can see the Bramble Vest already picked up there from Solo. He is trying to look to roam up. We'll see if they want to try to contest this. Power of Evil got the push mid lane, so he is now moving up towards this Rift Herald, and they will have the potential to try to contest. The question is just, do they want to really commit to it? Because honestly, the second Rift Herald isn't worth that much. If you're not in a good spot to contest, you shouldn't bother.
Unless you get a Miracle Steal, Q, good smite. That's going to go for Pioshik, and Santorin could ult away, but suddenly, Ignar wants Sin by himself. Blast Plant pops in time. No easy re-engage, flash to safety, but an easy chase down for Pioshik. Stun's still going to drop. How about the re-engage on a Doran? Shockwave, autos, that's 1 kill for 1, but now Turtle has to cleanse, has to flash, kiting away, finds the slow, the chase in for Pioshik, the flash in for depth, and he finds the headshot kill. Looking for a sleep now as well, and DRX have turned the corner. 3 for 1 instantly in the team fight.
What a throw from Ignar, honestly. FlyQuest, I liked the attempt at the smite steal, but what was that engage? It's just a one-man mission there from Ignar. The rest of the team tries to stay around and bail him out, and they're probably going to lose, well, they lost 3 members. They almost lost 4 there, and that went from a very close game where FlyQuest is pretty comfortable with their spot to almost throwing away the entire game for a terrible engage there from Ignar, and that is going to be one he really wants back.
So now we ask if the resets come through in time, because Dragon 3 is on the map, Infernal Drake is here, Solo has teleport, not ulti, as Deft recalls as Drake spawns.
Yeah, I mean, the smite steal is good. You notice how Santorin was just going to walk up, try to steal it, and then quick draw out if he didn't actually find an opportunity to get it. Ignar, though, goes so deep, the team tries to back him off. Yes, they do finish off Doran, but you committed your Shockwave, you committed the Ashe ultimate, every ultimate on cooldown to take down the tank. So the carries of DRX are going to fly forward. They continue to chase. Anytime you try to run from a Zoe with your summoner, Zoe grabs those summoners, follows you, and it's going to be able to clean up those kills. And all of a sudden, you're closing in on that 4,000 gold lead here.
No, is he dead? He's got the shield. I think that was maybe it been Seraph that he popped the extra shield just to make sure it was all okay. Now, it was FlyQuest who grabbed Drake number 3. Now, a 4,000 gold difference is better than 3 Drakes, but a soul nearly makes up that gold difference. So if this happens in the next few minutes, it gets a bit closer. Though. Yes, it is. It's mid lane tier 2 dropping, the gold lead growing farther and farther. 4,500 gold lead now, and mid inhibitor is going to lose most of its turret's health as well as they get another charge down there, and DRX looking to just completely strangle this map in the mid game.
And this is getting tough. I mean, FlyQuest will get their shot for the Infernal Soul, but now, after that Rift Herald fight, so silly to risk the game on that, and they fall so far behind off of it. They lose the kills, they are losing towers. DRX are going to be in a spot where they are ready for this fight. They're going to be incredibly strong. You see, the IE is already completed. I wouldn't be shocked if Deft has 3 items by the time that next fight does happen. Stormrazor completed, very high DPS build here from Pioshik. People have been very critical of the Black Cleaver style builds. Stormrazor plus a Zeal item, this is one of my favorite builds on the Kindred. That plus a lot of marks, you become a true marksman threat. You really do scale very effectively into the mid and late game stages. So FlyQuest, you have got to pretty much nail the engage, get a very valuable shockwave, or they're going to have almost no chance, I feel like, in this next team fight.
And it's going to be hard to find a good shockwave because Keria rushed first item of kills Crucible. If you find an Ash Arrow or a Pantheon stun, you cleanse it off and you kite them away from the shockwave if you can be fast enough. Yep. Kindred ult, obviously a very big deal as well. Now it is a squishier Kindred, so if you happen to one-shot Kindred, you know, maybe you want the 400 health from Black Cleaver suddenly. That said, yeah, I expect it to go pretty well on the DRX side. They've got tools for every occasion. It's just down to execution. So can they close this one out? We are 3 minutes until the Dragon Soul fight. We know Baron is on the map, so that's always an easy flex angle there as well. DRX with leads in most lanes are going to see which ones they can push in and where they can keep map control.
Deft is honestly in such a strong position right now. Looks like he's going for that 3rd item, Stormrazor. So may not have that completed, but he is going to be incredibly strong when he does get it completed. A much higher DPS build, then going the double Zeal. I know you are a big fan of just going for the double BF items straight up at the start. It is going to make his overall DPS a lot higher against solo. And obviously, he's going to take more than a couple auto attacks to knock down the Ornn, so we'll be in a good position to do it. Thankfully for FlyQuest, though, solo closing in on more of those Ornn upgrades. He has the first for himself. Hasn't completed that Sunfire yet, but Deathcap is ready and waiting to be upgraded, as is the Blade of the Rune King there. So they have those available to try to erase some of the gold lead if he can get enough experience and get those upgrades through.
4,500, almost 5,000 the gold difference. Mid lane pushing it again, a wall of traps, and DRX, as they get rid of the wards, like I said, they can start to play for the Baron setup here. It's darkness, and yes, you have Hawkshot, but it's not CDR Ashe. That's going to be a pretty slow one. Kindred just hit 7 marks now. That's obviously great.
Insane.
Got a couple in the PvP combat, and that means, yeah, Pioshik has the same range as Wild Turtle and is also on 2 completed items, so very much a carry threat.
He really is. He's going to be very, very difficult to get onto it. You know, people always think about it from the offensive portion, but the range allows you to have so much more safety too, right? It's so much harder for champions like Pantheon and Ornn to actually be in range to land those stuns because you can outrange them while you're hitting them. You're not this really short-range marksman who's easier to jump onto, burst out before you can get the ultimate down. You have to commit more to get in range of the Kindred, which allows the Kindred more time to react and pre-ultimate engages and things like that.
And Pioshik's farming excellently as well. 50 CS difference over Santorin. Like, he's absolutely clapping in this matchup now. Santorin got early ganks, but now their KDAs are basically identical. DRX's mid game doing very well, and we've just been waiting for this moment. Ticking down the clock until that 42 seconds in the top left corner becomes 0, and the 4th and FlyQuest hopes final Infernal Drake spawns. They would love Dragon Soul. That's their comeback mechanism. That and a really clean team fight. Now, the Ori shield can fully block a Caitlyn ultimate. It's time for Solo to step up in the front line. 25 seconds till this Drake spawns. Mid lane was pushed in by FlyQuest, but easily answered by DRX.
Power of Evil does have his death cap, and it has been upgraded, right? So they have a lot of AP on this champion. If he can land that key shockwave, there is a way FlyQuest win this fight, but it's tough. You have one side completely walled off by the traps. You can see Pantheon is looking for an angle to ultimate. They are going to fight this, and I think we're going to go right now.
Here comes the play. The 5-on-5s maybe decide the game. Can they find the back line? So far, so good. Maokai roots up 3. Ignat's got to run away. He can't find anything. A nice flash away keeps Solo away. Now Chovy's going to find damage to the side lane. Going to find himself the first sleep. The shockwave will not find the kill. Pioshik read it, and he got the Lamb's Respite. And now it's time to kill the rest of FlyQuest, and they take the dirt nap. It's the Earth Drake season now for FlyQuest. No longer are they flying, no longer are they soaring, they are in the ground, and it's DRX's time to take over the map.
DRX's team fighting way too good, limiting the options there from FlyQuest, limiting the ways that they could approach. We saw Chovy landing so much poke over onto Power of Evil, the whole team kiting back, absorbing the engage, and then fighting forward, utilizing that huge gold lead they had to get a 5-for-0 ace, the Dragon, and the Baron all at once. This one is all but wrapped up now. Was a good attempt at the shockwave there from Power of Evil, but not quite enough. As
happens.
It does happen. Not quite enough to actually one-round Pyosik there, but was close. Pyosik fast enough on the ultimate.
Yeah, I mean, he ulted pre-shockwave. He's like, okay, the ball's on me. Let's just shockwave. The only way we lose is if I get one shot, because that would have been 2 kills. But now look for the re-engage. A shockwave on a 2. Chovy is caught up, but he has a flash. He's going to go to the wall. Can they get the rest, though? They're going to try to find Doran. He flashes away back to his turret, but it's still a 3 or a 4-on-1. Doran should not live here. He's going to dodge the first knock-up, the first stun. They will find the kill. 1 Baron buff is gone, but that is a very, very small consolation prize.
You know what I will say? I like how aggressive FlyQuest has stayed in the 2 games that they've fallen really far behind. Both in the top game where they were getting run over and now down nearly 10,000 gold, they are still looking for these proactive plays. Let's watch this one more time. Look at Chovy over the wall. His positioning got so much damage down onto Power of Evil, pushes him out almost entirely. Notice how Santorin, Turtle, and Power of Evil had basically no impact before Ignar was dead, and now Solo is sectioned off. It's a great shockwave over the wall. Def sidesteps it, though, and the Lamb's Respite came through there from Pyosik, staying alive. DRX, very good positioning, very good team fighting, utilizing a gold lead, everything you would want to see from them.
And that was so sick from Pyosik, because PoE was over the wall. I don't think he was warded. He QR'd from Fog, and Pyosik read it in time to ult. You have to have a lot of presence of mind. I'm not talking runes to make that play happen. That was a game-saving move. If he's dead, Baron doesn't happen. That fight is closer. We might look really differently about this game if that play came through. PoE had a great line, and Pyosik was fast enough to stop it.
Really well played from him, to be honest. And he has had a very, very strong game, going straight for that IE now. So he is ridiculously strong at this point in the game, going for that crit build. DRX, they have the Baron buff, they have every sieging tool you can imagine. Walk up, drop the traps, slowly poke away, shield up the Caitlyn, shield up the Kindred, let them hit that turret. FlyQuest are just going to try their very best to hold on, to wave clear, to hope you find a miracle engage, because that's really the only chance you have to get back in this game. If DRX play it safe, play it slowly, you can just slowly knock down these turrets.
Deft has flash, Keria has flash, Pyosik has that as well as the ulti. It's going to be hard to find backline access. Turret will live for now as Baron ticks down, 38 seconds remaining, but a new wave shows up, and that's going to be a turret dropping. FlyQuest lose control of their bottom inhibitor. Mid
Maokai's top
opened up as well. Maokai on the top side does have teleport, but FlyQuest, oh no, PoE, he cannot find the shockwave. Deft, what a beautiful play, flashes forward, solo kills Power of Evil, and without a carry standing, look at the rest of this damage. Yeah, you can block it, but it's time to kill the base. The perfect cleanse, Keria goes back up, finds a bit more. Re-engage, gonna look at the best they can, but no asleep on Solo means there's no ult. Pyosik is unstoppable, and there is nothing left for FlyQuest to do. DRX in pretty dominant fashion once 20 minutes came around. They took control, a bit of damage coming back around, a single kill on the board, but it's not gonna be enough. DRX take control, a second place in the group, the way it was expected coming in. FlyQuest made him work for it, but it's still going to be a likely 30-minute victory. We wait for the minion wave to drop down the backdoor bonus. The Nexus will fall, and DRX take down FlyQuest in 30 minutes.
What a way to finish it there. Def doing his best Syndra cosplay, wiping the mid laner off the map. He's had enough. Flashing forward onto Power of Evil there. Clean stuff from him. Really had an incredibly dominant game. Got so far ahead.